Fabulous. Well, welcome everybody. It's lovely to have you here today for our discussion on the winning strategies for recruiting Vietnamese students in Vietnam. I am Audrey Duhame, one of our partnership managers over in North America, and it is my pleasure to introduce our host and moderator for this panel discussion, our Territory Director, Bang Pham. Bang?
Thank you, Audrey, and thank you everybody for your time today. And of course, one of the housekeeping has always been please explore and keep using the chat box. Especially, if you have questions and if you cannot hear certain things, please just chat in, and then we will know, immediately how to mingling or come back or getting back to your questions. So second of all, I'm not the only host for today. Joining me today as well is three distinguished guests. And interestingly, they sit all over the world. So we have two of my best friend, Mr. Kung, uh, director, founders of Index, an agent for over 15 years in Vietnam, and especially into a US and UK market. And joining me as well is Nhung, the in-country representative of University of Greenwich, one of the most profile brand in Vietnam as well. And of course, on other side of the globe, sitting in Wisconsin is Scott Pearson, Executive Director of International for University of Wisconsin-Stout. I will leave the floor to Nhung, lady first, for your quick introductions, and you have 30 seconds, Nhung.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. Hello, everyone. Very lovely to meet you in here today. So I'm Nhung, and you can call me Rosie. I'm International Student Recruitment Manager for Vietnam, for Greenwich, University of Greenwich in UK. So basically, I have nearly 6 years experience in this international recruitment in both Australia and UK, and very lovely to meet all of you here today, and we can sit and share about our opinion, also our strategies together. Yeah.
Thank you, Nhung. Over to you, anh Cường.
Hello everyone. Good morning, good evening from Hanoi, Vietnam. I start doing counseling and recruit student abroad since 2001, and then I start running my own company since 2014. So 2012. So now nearly 12 years. 12 years running a agency recruit student, and my main markets is UK and US. So I hope I can, if you need any question or knowledge from the market, I would like to share everything. Yeah.
Yes, and Scott.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. My name is Scott Pearson. I'm the Executive Director of International Education at the University of Wisconsin-Stout, a small to medium-sized polytechnic university in the state of Wisconsin, USA. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us. And I have to say, I'm a proud partner of Acumen in both the two markets, India and now Vietnam. We've been in Vietnam for about the past 3 months. So pleasure to be here.
Lovely to see you as well. I think in order to facilitate for the discussion later, I hope that I can give a quick introduction about the Vietnam market, update, insights, and some of my thoughts around the strategies to win the market. For me, using the word win is a little bit too much, but let's look at things and see if we can figure out what we can do for this market. And obviously, since Audrey and Cecilia only gave me 10 minutes, so I will stick as close as possible to the agenda. So our agenda today is that I will go through, let's say, 4 key pillars, the update and insights, a little bit about the mobility, student mobility trends, and of course, what we want to hear, winning strategies, and the key success factors. So I will start with the update. I would say, I always start everything from from a geopolitical view, because more than ever, the geopolitical environment is affecting our world, and we can see it in not only in the US, only in Canada, in Australia, and in New Zealand. All host destinations are having their own geopolitical turmoil. But luckily in Vietnam, we are experiencing a stable political environment at the highest level in Vietnam. And that is also the reason behind the positive GDP growth of 7.9%, 7.09% in 2024. Underlining this upward trend is service, in specific hospitality and hospitality and tourism and industrial sectors. Industrial here is mostly around exporting devices, and that's we can explain by the second largest manufacturer of Samsung based in Vietnam. And because of this, the government ambitiously planned for an 8% growth of GDP for 2025. And they aim to do this until 2045 as well. And then, the reason I put up here the photo of our Chief Secretary of Party, To Lam. He is a former Ministry of Public Security, and he just appointed in 24. He himself also is running his own, government efficiency campaigns. So we also have our Vietnam Doge version, and part of it is that he said, look, we have so many ministry, let's merge it. Let's try to fight it, and let's fine-tune the country for the future. And part of it, he's also decided to bring vocational education training under the Ministry of Education. In the past, it stayed with the Ministry of Labor, but now they put under the ministry with the aim that they will focus a lot into vocational education and to focus on preparing the future workforce for Vietnam in the 21st century. The second things that I look at this is, when you have a stable political environment, you basically aim for call for investment. Just like President Trump, when he doing that with in the first few months of his presidents of his second presidencies. In Vietnam, we also do the same. And the whole political system focus on bringing more foreign direct investment. And back in December 23, when Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, visiting Vietnam, Acumen already make a projection. We said the title and the themes for 24 to comes is AI and semiconductor. And it's true. By December 24, after 1 year of doing business development from PM Jin, basically Jensen coming back to Vietnam for the second time, and he acquired an AI research centers to make it NVIDIA's, and of course, together with a promise of invest $200 million to a semiconductor plant. The next question always is around, so if you have so many investment like that, where are the power? How can we make an energy security? And the government immediately, earlier in January 25, they coming in and they say, we will restart our nuclear power projects. This is to the aim of make sure that we have an energy security and a foundation to attract more investment from overseas. All of this is actually a highest commitment from central government in moving the country into a high income country by 2045. It means more middle income families, which is the source for all of international education environment. I will move forward a little bit into, so we talk a little bit about, okay, so everything is fine. The country is ready for it. There's a projection to grow, but what are the key drivers of it? So the key drivers, I would say, only have 4 things. The economy, we aim and projected by to become the 20th largest economy by 2550, and we're going to pass Australia in 2040 by PPP. Our income per capita is the target segment is far higher than the average. We're aiming for that. The second piece, I think this is also one of the key drivers is the demographics of it. More than 25 million young Vietnamese in the age of 5 to 19 in that age bracket is there in the country, and we're going to still having it until 2030. And then together with that is the third drivers is the smaller size families means there are bigger investment for their child. And of course, you know, just like any Asian families, we value education and we prepare to pay for it. The fourth point of it is actually coming from the supply constraints from the local higher education institutions. There's capacity shortfalls, and at some point last year in 2024, we basically realized that there is a lack of 250,000 places at universities in the country in all levels and in all disciplinaries. Apart from that, that is the quality and adaptability as well. We know it and we try to improve it. And that is also now you can see the word transnational education more often from the ministry level because that is where they want to go for. Now another question is that, okay, we know that these are the driver for, you know, from outside. What are the insights? What are the features of the countries? Again, you know, I love football, so therefore I always try to play a certain formation. We have 4 defenders, and now we have 4 midfielders. And that's basically the investment from private sectors. Wherever you go into Vietnam right now, you will see private group, holding group invest into education. You can name it immediately. Vingroup, VLG, NSG, and HUTEC. They all have their own universities, high school, vocational school. They all have it and they invest into that. Behind them is developers. And they all starting as a developers, real estate developers. Therefore, they are very, very strong and they willing to invest into this. Their investment lead to a rapid evolution of K-12 segment. We have multiple campuses. School, some of them are having campuses across the countries, and they can host up to 4,000, 5,000 students easily. I was in Hanoi 2 weeks ago, and there was a high school that I visited. I was so impressed that in just 4 years, they can grow their portion of students go all the way until 3,000 in just 4 years. And obviously, you know, the role of the recruitment agents in all this. And of course, you know, in the panel discussion, I will ask Mr. Kuong further into, you know, the role of an agent in Vietnam and how influential they can be into, you know, Vietnamese parent decision. And finally, last but not least, the transnational education. As I mentioned before, is not only from the government point of view, but it's also coming from the consumer point of view as well. Acumen own report, when we run it 2 years ago, we also realized that over 80% of Vietnamese parents now say they want their kids to have international programs, to have international certificate or degree, no matter where that is delivered. It can be here in Vietnam, and it also can be somewhere else in the world. And that's where we see that the world's TNA have been more and more in the country. So that is also one of the reasons why when we sit down and we created this series, we said, okay, let's talk about recruitment, and the next one will be TNA. So the same time next month, we're going to talk about that. Sorry for advertisement. And so that is about the, you know, the Vietnam updates and the insights. Feel free to drop your question or comment or input, and happy to address it later on. And so I will move into the student mobility trends. So of course, you know, we know that there are drivers, where there are features in the market. How does it affect the mobility trends? I would say almost 40% of outbound students from the Southeast Asia region are Vietnamese. And the key point here is Southeast Asia, apart from China and India, is the third largest region for outbound students. And in that, Vietnam is by far the largest market for outbound students. Interestingly, into that, Vietnamese student first choice has always been US. So of course, first choice doesn't mean they're going to go to US. But if you interview them or you ask them which country they want to go to, the first thing has always been US. And then the next one will be UK or Australia, depends on the situation. Another trend that we see recently is the intra-Asia mobility is rising. And that is because of the growing new middle class, the kind of family who just coming out from the poverty and entering to the new age of, middle income families. They don't really have the capacities and they don't really have the capital yet. And so therefore they will aim for a more affordable and closer to home middle class options. And of course, cultural similarity. So the country like Korea, Japan, even China, slowly popping up in Vietnam. And of course, a lot of people, I keep asking me, are parents still the key decision makers? Yes, they are. Acumen own report also say, decision makers stay with the parents. And of course, if you look at this, you can say that, either they both decide or one of them decide. But of course, I don't trust the guy who say, especially the husband who say, I or my spouse decide, understanding the real hierarchy in Asian family. I think he just, who answered is just, making up. It's basically his wife. And so, of course, if you look into that, there's another trend that they say, hang in there. How is the child played a role in this? I will leave the 18 years old away. But if you look into the portion of the 15 to 17 years old kid, 21% of them now have the right to make decisions. So I start asking around to my friends who are agents or individual counselors, and I realized something very interesting. They say now, actually, the parents pick the country. The children now pick the universities and the subjects, because that is how they grow into their how can I say, their confidence and their individual decision. And more parents see that this is crucial in the whole decision making process. I think I still have a couple of minutes left, and Audrey, feel free to stop me if I'm too far into that. I'll skip a couple of slides, which of course, later on we will share with you all. If you look into this, you will see that how, and especially to the right table, you will see that among, other three countries in Southeast Asia, Vietnam is really a high distance in terms of the total numbers of Vietnamese students study overseas all the way after COVID. And this is only higher educations. And then of course, number of Vietnamese students who studying at all, English speaking countries, Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, and Canada. If you look into this, I only do higher education. So I take away all the vocational and everything else. And you basically see that the real battle is between US and Australia. On this, I make a deeper look because I have a question. I say, okay, are there any change between administrations? Interestingly, the number of Vietnamese students always going down in election year, but then they will immediately pick up high the year after that. So this is the trend I see between, Trump version 1 and Biden administrations, and then now Trump version 2. So for US, my guess, and of course I just drink teas and I look into the tea leaf and I see and I can say that 25 will be US years, because that's there. So I will go to the winning strategies. We talk a lot about the update. We talk a lot about the insight. We talk about the trends, the projections. But my sense is, every strategy is basically the same. It's just different by the universities. The key point here is who deliver or who operated better than the others. So because of that, I coming in with saying, a fundamental stage to win has always been a long-term approach to establish trust and awareness. And I think that, our team in Vietnam, our expert in Vietnam, Nhung and Cương will also reflect on that, is that this is the market where people rely a lot on trust. If the parents don't feel that they trust your brand or they're not aware of you, they're not going to pick, and they're not going to come to the agent and say, hey, I heard about these universities. So by doing that, I create into a 3 stage. The first stage has always been inside market research, coming over to Vietnam, maybe just 2 or 3 days, contacting to a local contact, understanding the cultural nuances. And more than ever, it's so important, and especially into the world where there's now, there's no longer one power stay in one place. Now it's divided. Brand building, engaging with local institution, agent, and school. That's the second step. And then the first step is expansion, where you do academic visits, bringing your professors, student exchange, research collab, and T&E. All these 3 stages can be different from university to universities, and from the duration of it can be different as well. Some are doing it very fast, and some doing it, in a longer way. But there's one word that I keep saying: consistency. Because it's a long-term approach, and consistency is key in every stage of it. And all of this, what I can say is all about anchor your brand in Vietnam. That's where we have a lot of university. And I can say this, 95% of Australian universities have their in-country reps in Vietnam. And you can name it. Some even have 2. So basically, when you look at all this, you will see that, anchor here, being consistent and understanding the market so that you can adapt to the market and to the culture back to your universities. So this is the 3 stages that I can recommend. And then winning strategy for 25 and beyond. I will start with, to be success, tracking your performance and adapting to change all the time. And there's one thing that I will also say here. There's something that I say this year. Look at influencer marketing. There was a report by a marketing agency called Quip Asia, and they pointed out that more than 80% of Southeast Asia population make purchase decision due to an influencer recommendation. Vietnam is interestingly leading and even above average in all tier of influencers. You have like celebrities, mega influencer who have more than 1 million followers. You have macro influencer and micro influencer. If you look at that, Vietnam is leading in all things, and even sometimes above average among all the Southeast Asia countries. And so, if you look at that, now who is influencer in our world? That is current student who is at your campus, your alumni, your Vietnamese alumni, and your professors. Bring them here, let them run mock class, let them run, a research or a report or a pen or just a presentation about their projects or programs, because that is how we bring the brand to the student, and that's where we can personalize it. And so obviously, be present. That is something that I keep saying. Consistency, consistent presence in the market is key, because that's where people remember you, because it is a long-term approach. And I will finish this with a 3 key points. To be success in this strategy, we need just 3 things. Parent-centric approach. A lot of time we think that, okay, it's maybe younger generation, we're going to looking at the students, but it's actually the parents, because parents also coming from a younger generations. We are not talking about baby boomer or, millennials anymore. We're talking about parents now at the age of 40s who have international exposure. Some of them even study overseas. and they're coming back. And so we need, and they will be more digital familiarity. And that is where we should focus on them. Get the faculties on board. This is so important these days. You know, it's hard for us to come into the market and say, hey, we promote for data science, but then the kid doesn't know what does it mean studying data science. So get this faculty on board. I see many success story where the faculty come to Vietnam and they say, hey, I love, you know, the student cohort, and I love to invest into this by giving them a faculty scholarship. And return of investment. Communicate ROI carefully, and any statistic around employability or successful story of your alumni is key. That is what parents want to hear these days. Summarize all these things. If you can get all these three factors done together with you know, doing this consistency with all the strategy, I would say that would be something we can talk about the success in 25. So that would be the end of my slides. So, you know, Audrey, are there any questions? Maybe you can pick one questions that if the audience asks, so that we can address it here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that market overview, Bang. I really appreciate it. We do have some questions going into the chat, and I might direct them a little bit. So we've got one from Nicole, which is, how important are the factors such as living environment, student services, community, housing, and safety as part of those choices? And I'd like to think that perhaps our panelist for Greenwich or our agent from Vietnam would like to speak on those with the conversations you're having with students and families. Either of you happy to speak on that?
Yeah, yeah. I think we can point this to Nhung. What do you think about these questions? How important are evolving factors, living environment, and student service or community to you know, study overseas choices?
So based on my experience when I consulted students and also their parents, so the factor of living environment is very, very important for students and especially for parents, because when they send their kids to study abroad, that means their kids have to be independent and stay in the different country. So the reason why parents really like to choose the modern, like modern countries like US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, because they are safe and they are famous of safe. So based on when I advise students and parents, when they find the accommodation for their kids, they always ask me the question, is that area safe? So the environment, the living environment, the student service, and the community in that area, three of them are very important for them. And I can see that now more students also looking for the for example, a Vietnamese student, they were looking for the Vietnamese community in that area. So that's why when I work with the students, previous when I study when I work with Australia school, or even now when I work for Greenwich University, we have very good and strong Vietnamese community, and that also can bring the trust and somehow make parents and students feel more secure when they study with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Nhung. And thank you for bringing this up about, you know, from a university's, you know, point of view. And Cường, I'm interested to hear from your view as well. You know, of course, you know, we're talking a lot about facilities and parents will ask about that, right? But coming from your view as an agent, you know, what can universities do to work effectively with you or to support more information to you, to talk to parents and students? You
Oh,
unmute and you unmute.
yeah. You're
Uh, and girl,
You're
you on mute.
All right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so please allow me to express in Vietnamese, and Mr. Bang will translate for me, so it make everyone understand clearly. Yeah. So cái việc mà trường đại học mà làm việc có thể hiệu quả với Asian á, thì nó phụ thuộc vào đầu tiên là cái dạng của Asian. Ví dụ như Asian Index là trở thành một cái công ty, với có rất nhiều cái bộ phận chuyên môn. Và nếu mà trường đại học mà làm đến một cái Asian, cũng là tên là Asian, nhưng người ta thì người owner cũng là người người tư vấn viên, thì đấy anh đầu tiên phải định dạng trước là cái dạng Asian là loại size gì, là một cái company với rất nhiều cái bộ môn chuyên môn, hay chỉ là một cái một nhóm người nhỏ và người owner cũng chính là người tư vấn. Đấy, cái đầu tiên anh muốn mention cái đấy ạ.
Yeah, so I think the first thing a university from overseas to think about working with an agent is to look at their size. Are they big? Are they medium? Or you know, the owner is actually the counselor and the visa operators as well. Because that will help the universities to know and how to navigate their information through that to the agents. So that's the first thing. Yeah. The second
Dạ,
one,
thank you. Cái thứ hai là chính vì cái size agent ấy, thì người ta có những cái cách mà người ta gọi là thu hút sinh viên, hoặc là làm cái chiến lược marketing là khác nhau.
okay. The second piece of this is the university has to looking, because of the size of the agents, what the university can take benefit from is the marketing purpose and the marketing power that the agent can do. And of course, you know, all of the let's say the factors that you mentioned through the size of the agents can help the universities to spread the news better, because of the how can I say, the bigger portion of the channels can be used by the agent size will take benefit of that. So that's the second piece.
Và nếu mà chúng ta lấy những cái trường đại học từ những cái quốc gia mà chúng ta đang đang hiện diện đây, ví dụ như là nước Anh hoặc là Mỹ, thì các bạn thử vào cái trang mà xếp hạng tổng số sinh viên quốc tế của những cái trường này á, mà mình đang nói những cái trường có số lượng sinh viên quốc tế nhiều nhất ấy, thì các bạn sẽ nhìn thấy ngay là cái số lượng sinh viên của những cái trường nhiều nhất này, sinh viên quốc tế ấy, của những trường nhiều nhất này, thì thường là từ 70 đến 80% chính là những chương trình mà có liên kết, hay chúng tôi gọi là TNE.
So I think the third point Mr. An Kung tried to address is that if you are an international universities, you come into Vietnam, you work with an agents, the first thing you need to look at is looking at the agents that are working effectively with local universities if they already have TNE. Because in Vietnam, some agents, depends on their size, have a close relationship with a local university that are running TNE. That is also where you can earn, let's say, another channels from that, from the direct recruitment. You can also leverage from that and build your TNE portfolio through the agent, or through the advice of company like Acumen as well.
Và cái cách làm tiên đi như các bạn cũng vừa mới mention trong cái slide vừa rồi ấy, thì thật ra cũng là một cái chương trình mà tôi nghĩ rằng là sẽ càng ngày càng phổ biến, bởi vì cái công nghệ mới này, cái công nghệ ấy, sẽ giúp cho cái việc mà sinh viên có thể học tập tại đất nước của họ vẫn có thể tiếp thu được những kiến thức và những cái gọi là ờ, phương pháp giảng dạy từ cái trường ở nước ngoài. Và như vậy thì chúng ta tưởng rằng là cái thời gian sinh viên bay sang ít hơn, nhưng chúng ta sẽ bù lại bởi số lượng sinh viên sẽ đông hơn.
Yeah. Okay. And I think to reflect on the TNE piece as well, Mr. Kung also mentioned around, that if with the help of the agent in that, we will also can bring more students, portfolio, not only from year one, but also, coming from year three and year four to the countries. Thank you, Anh. Um, Scott, I think we already asked Mr. Kung and Jung on that. But I do have a question for you, is that when you, as a universities, right? Mr. Kung just sharing his view as an agent. So the universities, when you're looking at a market like Vietnam, what are the factors that you're looking at it and why you make that decision to come?
Great. Yeah. So I think there are a lot of factors. Most importantly, I think it's really important to know your unique value proposition. Now, for the University of Wisconsin Stout, we're a medium-sized polytechnic university. So our emphasis is really on applied learning, and we measure our success in terms of post-graduation employment. We have almost 100% post-graduation employment rate. So I think that speaks really well, right, for Vietnamese parents that are looking for an immediate return on their investment. We also have a uniqueness in terms of our price point. We are a little bit on the lower priced, but still very high value side of the equation when you look at higher institutions of higher education. And we offer scholarships. I think scholarships are really, really important. The location where we are is in the Midwestern United States. It's a relatively low cost of living area. So all of tuition fees, living expenses being moderate and offering scholarships. In addition, we have opportunity for students to work on campus while they study. So all of this, factored into making us a very, very high quality and lower cost option. The other thing too is our majors, our programming really fit the current market demands. You mentioned hospitality sector being really, really strong. We have an excellent hotel, restaurant, tourism management program. We also have really strong programs in engineering, manufacturing, technology, and even environmental science and psychology. And these are all, programs that I think a lot of Vietnamese students are selecting on our campus. So we have, again, the right fit programming, the right cost price point. And I think another aspect which was mentioned earlier is safety. In a small part of the United States where our town is only 16,000 residents, everybody knows one another. It's a very welcoming community, a very safe community. While it can be very, very cold in the winter, and that's something that we have to overcome in Wisconsin, we do have the benefit of being in the Midwest, and that aspect of Midwestern hospitality is very prevalent. So I think all of those factors really led us to believe that we'd have significant success. The other thing that I think was really important to us is we are not a university that is ranked internationally under QS or the Times Higher Ed. We're more, again, of that applied learning institution. So the market in Vietnam is not like other countries throughout the world, in particular China and South Korea, where they're very, very ranking, oriented. We have a very, very high value proposition. I think Vietnamese families and students recognize that, and we are very quick to point out how successful the students do in a smaller environment, both town and on campus, and how they move on and advance their careers by attending some of the top-ranked master's degree institutions in the world. So all of that, I think, spoke really, really well, and that was one of the reasons, or the many reasons, as to why we decided to move into Vietnam.
Great, thank you, Scott. I think we have a lot of great question on the chat box as well, but I think we will come back to that later. But Scott, thanks a lot for mentioning this, for mentioning the majors, like that we should bring into the market that fit with what the market needs. I think I will kick this ball back to and Kung again as an an agent view. When it comes to majors, what is your projection for Vietnam in 25 or in 26? Which majors that international universities should bring to Vietnam, or in saying, maybe to the north of Vietnam and to the south of Vietnam? What kind of subjects, what kind of program that should bring to?
Thực sự là cũng khó để nói ngay là cái chuyên ngành gì mà có thể bring đến Việt Nam, nhưng mà anh nghĩ rằng là cái mà đang đang rất là quan tâm đấy là thường liên quan đến công nghệ. cho dù là ngành xã hội thì người ta có cái ví dụ như là data data analysis này, đấy, data science này. Còn ngành công nghệ thì rõ ràng là có computer science và technology. Thì đấy là hai cái ngành, tức là nó sẽ có một cái gì đó hơi hướng cả từ xã hội đến kỹ thuật, nhưng nó phải gắn với cả công nghệ. Thì đấy là cái mà anh thấy là cái sinh viên trẻ Việt Nam là rất là quan tâm. Thậm chí là các trường đại học ấy ở Việt Nam cũng rất là quan tâm về những cái chuyên ngành này, họ dạy ở trong nước luôn đấy. và
Yep.
và có cái nữa là cái định hướng từ cái người chính phủ Việt Nam, như anh vừa nói đến bác đứng đầu Việt Nam ấy, thì người ta cũng rất là liên quan đến đến công nghệ, đến số hóa. Đấy thì đấy là cái mà anh nghĩ rằng là từ trên xuống dưới, và những cái thông tin anh nghe được từ các trường đại học, thì họ rất là quan tâm đến vấn đề mà đưa công nghệ và cái gắn với công nghệ và các chương trình truyền thống, và và
Yep.
và và nghiêng với cả số hóa rất là nhiều.
Yeah, thank you, Anh. So I think Mr. Kung, and I'm really much aligned with you as well, and on this. His view is that when you promote anything, you're looking at the direction of the country from the top level.
Yeah.
Whatever they say there, you follow that. So, for example, in Vietnam, a directive from the Politburo, like the highest table, the Vietnam cabinet, the message has always been STEM and anything related to tech that will bring the country forward. And Mr. Kung also analyzed it a little bit deeper into another layer by saying it's not only about STEM only. It's also about data science, or let's say anything that related to that core subjects, that core STEM subjects. Anything related to that, anything that support that, will be what the country look at, and that is also where the investment state. And I pretty much align with that as well. Is that is also one of the reasons why back in early 24, I already said, coming here with that kind of program and subjects, you're gonna get a win, because the whole country is talking about it. Thank you, Anne, for that advice as well. From this, I I think it's always a how can I say it, a key issue, right? Finance. How can we find finance for a child educations? And of course, Scott, you mentioned about scholarships strategy, which we're happy to take it on another occasions. I think we can write a whole PhD about it. But to Nhung, I think this question is for you, and especially because you are a UK ICI as well. Since UK has less scholarship proportion, like it's not big like in the past. How do you think universities or you yourself can help students financing their options? Or
Um,
what are the option to an affordable education?
yeah, like as the UK in country rep, I can see that compared to other countries, UK doesn't offer the very, very, very big scholarship like other countries. But in Vietnam, and especially in the north of Vietnam, the UK the UK brand is still very, like impact very strongly in the mindset of parents in the north. With them, UK, US, and Australia education, and even Canada is like high class and very have the high quality degree. Recently, I can see that UK is changing a little bit, that they offer higher scholarship for students, and that I think that's the good changing about the finance for student. I always advise student, like beside the scholarship, student can have a look like the return on investment. That's the real story. When students study abroad, it's not just about education, it's also about the experience. So students have change, have opportunity to do the part-time jobs, and from that they have finance, they have experience. After that, they have 2 years in UK to work full-time, and that's very valuable because that will support student to have more experience, to have better CV, and after the years study in UK and the 2 years working in there, student will get more chance to get the sponsor to work there further. So I think maybe UK cannot offer the big scholarship like other countries, but with the reputation and with the opportunities of student when they study abroad is still very attract student, especially, and now I can see that more student in the south also interested in UK market as well.
Yep. Thank you, Nhung. Pretty much alive with that, and I can summarize that, instead of going into the question about finance or scholarship, we can also start the elevator pitch on the experience and the other option that student can have as well. And I think, Nhung, you mentioned about the part-time options. Um, I'll pass it to Scott, because I remember that you have some very good part-time or on-campus part-time opportunities. Do you think that one is a, how can I say it, a crucial or interesting factors for student decision?
Yeah, I think it is. And we're lucky in that we have over 2,500 on-campus positions, employment positions that are part-time. So any student that really desires the opportunity to work is provided that option. And most students do take advantage of it. It provides some additional income, but also a friendship network. The ability, whenever someone can stay involved in a small town setting in unique ways, it always enhances the experience. The other thing is it's a true win-win for the institution, because we are, again, a more rural setting, 16,000 residents. We don't have a large number of community members that would like to take very limited work options. Most people are looking for full-time options. So the pay is actually even a little higher too for students. So when we promote our institution, knowing that students can work up to 20 hours per week per federal regulation during a semester, and that most students will take part with a little bit higher starting hourly wage. We're around $11 an hour. I mean, that's over $5,000 per year. So when we look at scholarships and then we add on-campus employment, the total package makes a significant impact in looking at our total price point. So it's really a nice opportunity to leverage a unique opportunity that we have as an institution.
Yep. Thank you, Scott. I think, coming from a Vietnamese point of view as well, that this is something that I'm actively looking at in the past few weeks, is that, looking at from the view of financing international education for Vietnamese families, it may be we can work with a bank. And when I talked to a certain, commercial bank in Vietnam, they basically said, well, actually, we have that kind of products, but we never, started, because they never know that we have a kind of a portion of Vietnamese families that want to study overseas through, taking loan and financing their educations. So yeah, thank you all. And I'm also aware of time as well. And of course, I will also pass it to Audrey, if you can pick a question back to the panelist. Anything that
Absolutely. So we'll take a minute. There are a couple of questions in here that we might get back to towards the end. So talking about online programs, as well as what kinds of university partnerships are being looked at. I hope that you've gotten a bit of a brief, and we're going to give that to you here, but also next month, same time, same day, Thursday, the 27th, but March, we are going to do an in-depth discussion on transnational education. So we'll touch lightly on some of those opportunities here, but we'll have a further opportunity to explore in depth next month. Hopefully you can be there, and if not, we'll get you the recording and get you registered. Outside of that, I think we've got questions here. Likewise, so related to the programs, online program development as well. Felicity will try to touch that briefly. We'll probably go into that more a little bit next month. And then also, 6 visas are a question here. Can you talk about, I think there were 2 key things I'd love to hit is sort of the role of agents. We understand, again, how to find the right agent. We've gotten some great details, but, what role do agents play in that decision-making process? And then, what is that visa situation for students, going to the US or anywhere else? Is it easy for them to get that mobility that they need? Yeah, and then with that, if you want to pass to me towards the end, we can wrap it up.
Thank you, Audrey. I think that's a great question. I think for the role of the agents, I'll pass it to Anh Cương and Nhung definitely. For example, and I will start because that is, from the Vietnam point of view. So Anh Cương, what do you think about the role of the agent, let's say, in the new age of international education?
Ừ. Cái này câu hỏi của em nói về visa hả? Hay là em hỏi
Câu hỏi
câu
của
hỏi
em
tiếng Việt
là
đi.
về vai trò của
Ừ.
agent cho
Ừ.
đối với đối với thị trường này, tức là đối với vai trò của họ trong cái việc là làm việc với phụ huynh hay như thế nào?
Ừ. Thật ra cái vai trò của Asian bây giờ thực sự là rất là quan trọng. Trước đây ấy, thì phụ huynh học sinh người ta chỉ nghĩ rằng là được cái thư mời đã mừng rồi. Tức là bắt cả cách đây khoảng 20 năm đi, thì nhiều khi được cái thư mời cảm thấy rất là cái gì đó đáng giá. Thậm chí có những Asian người ta đấy xin cái thư mời còn thu phí ấy. Đấy, chứ mình bắt cái từng chuyện một này, sau đấy đến được visa thì cảm thấy cực kỳ ăn mừng. Đấy, nhưng mà bây giờ thì đúng là cái kinh tế Việt Nam nó cũng tốt hơn. Thế là sinh Việt Nam cũng được chào đón được nhiều đất nước hơn. Và thứ hai nữa là cái công nghệ á, thì là mà mọi người cũng có thể tiếp cận đến nền giáo dục và cũng biết các thông tin ở cái nước mà người ta muốn đến ấy, một cách dễ dàng hơn. Vậy thì cái phụ huynh học sinh đang cần cái gì? Thực sự phụ huynh học sinh đang cần một cái sự chuẩn bị kỹ lưỡng để họ có thể nhìn thấy được là cái đầu tư của họ ấy, là sau khi đi học thì họ có thể sử dụng nó được lợi ích thế nào. Ví dụ như là họ có thể làm được công việc gì, họ có thể ở nơi nào đó. Và cái trước khi họ ra quyết định ấy, thì Asian, nếu mà những Asian thực sự bài bản đấy, mà anh nghĩ rằng là cái điều này, cái vai trò của Asian càng ngày càng sẽ tăng lên ở cái điểm này. Đó sẽ là phải đồng hành với sinh viên trong những cái việc mà chuẩn bị, thậm chí không chỉ chuẩn bị về cái cuộc sống đâu, mà cả chuẩn bị về những cái vấn đề về từ giữ gìn sức khỏe đến các phương pháp mà người ta tìm ra cái nguồn lực ấy. Tức là người ta tự tự giải quyết công việc của sinh viên, tự xử lý những vấn đề mà người ta cần phải làm trước khi rời Việt Nam. Tức họ có những cái phương pháp gọi là tự tìm kiếm nguồn lực này, tự giải quyết vấn đề này. Đó thì phụ huynh học sinh, một cái việc mình làm cho như thế thì sinh viên và phụ huynh, điển hình là phụ huynh ấy, thì người ta mới cảm thấy yên tâm. Đấy, chứ chứ là nếu mà bây giờ mà chỉ đơn giản là lấy thư mời với visa thì tôi nghĩ là cái vai trò của Asian như thế thì sẽ không còn cái thị trường cho những Asian như vậy nữa đâu. Nên là bởi vậy càng cần các trường đại học ấy là hỗ trợ cho Asian, đồng hành Asian trong những cái chương trình mà cung cấp cho sinh viên, gọi là chúng ta có thể gọi là tiền du học đi. Thì tôi nghĩ là những trường đại học nào mà đồng hành với các Asian và đưa ra những chương trình tiền du học dễ làm dễ hiểu cho sinh viên, tôi tin chắc là sẽ làm một cái nhịp cầu nối để mà vừa giúp cho Asian phát huy thêm cái vai trò của họ, cũng như là có cái sự thân thiết đấy. Tức là trong triết học người ta gọi là cho là nhận đấy. Các trường nào càng có cho những cái điều đó thì tôi tin chắc là sẽ được được cái sự ủng hộ của bố mẹ, phụ huynh học sinh.
Yep,
Đấy.
yep. Thank you, Anh.
Ừ.
So I think th this is a very interesting point of view from Anh Cương, and I think that's your experience kick in. Um, he also mentioned, like, 20 years ago, an agent helped a family to get the offer from the university is already a big win, and that's it. Their job ended there. 10 years ago, an agent helped a family to get a visa and go is already another big win. So, but right now, in the new age of international education, those things are so easy. Facebook, Zalo, all those social media platforms help parents and students closer to the host destination. What's different? The difference here is the agent now will, I use the word evolve, into doing three things. The first thing is they will help the families to talk about return of investment. Because that is a big investment from the family and they are the forefront of the whole conversation. So they will help the families to understand what does it mean with ROI. And this one, I experienced it myself. So I have been to a pre-departure briefing of the universities. It was great until one of the parents asked, so my kid's gonna go there for master TESOL. What is her job prosperity when she finishes it? And I was like, but that's already pre-departure. Your child will go in the next 1 week. You can't ask that question there. But that is also where I immediately kick in and say, okay, this is the role of the agent, that you need to talk about ROI in the beginning. What's next? When the kid is there, when the children is there, when the student is there, sometimes it's not only about, studying, but also around their student life and how we can prepare them for the job market. So Mr. Kung also said that any universities that realize this and focus more onto the prep will take a lot of advantage in the next few years when they work with agent and parents, because when they provide this kind of prep, agent can immediately organize those things and sharing it back to families, and that's where families will, how can I say it, will value this kind of preparation and support. So thank you, Anne, for your insights. How about you, Nhung? And I think, maybe we will, after your input, we will, come to the last questions as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I totally agree with Mr. Kuang. As the UK alumni and also as in-country rep, I can see that agents now in Vietnam plays a very, very important role in the market. They will be the channel to give to students more information and like general information, support them to find the right demand of students. For example, like 8 years ago when I study abroad, I didn't go to any agent. So my knowledge and my information was limited, and a little bit regret for me when I work in this industry, and I wish that I knew more agents and I can choose to talk to agents to support me. That's about the information. And the second is like Mr. Kung mentioned, that agent now they play the role deeper to support student and family, not only consult them about the program, but also partner with them, prepare the documents, the visa, and also support them when the student study abroad. For example, I have a case that when student flew to Australia, and at that time he got the information that the house he booked was full. So what happened? The agent have to contact the in-country rep and find the solution to support student when student was in the airplane. And when he land off, everything was settled out, everything is done. So I think that's the very hard work between agent and school to support student. But finally, student was safe, and he had the other accommodation. So it's will not only about the information, not only about the document, but also about the supportive after when the students study in there. And I think that's why the agent in Vietnam now play the very important roles. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Nhung. Thank you, Anku, and thank you, Scott, for your sharing as well. And
Yeah.
congratulations, Scott. That's great. That's a great growth as well. I think we are wearing up time, and I think I will take the last questions into the differentiate between the difference between a country rep and an agent. I think they both collide with each other. Working with each other. Collide seems to be not the right word. They're working with each other and create cohesion in the whole market. An in-country rep is the one who represents for that university or institution alone, and they will be a prolonged channels from the universities to the market. Considering that universities sometimes have multiple faculties and some of them are so strong that they can make decisions on their own. And so an in-country rep is the one who is the bridge between the universities with the market. And the agents is the bridge between, let's say, the whole knowledge of a country, of a market, with a certain universities to the wider Vietnamese parents and students. And so these two play with each other, together, and to build a portfolio of international education in Vietnam. And I myself say, have the privilege of working in both roles. I would say that, this is an ideal model. This is an ideal model where one person knows all the angle of a certain institutions, working with a person who knows all the needs, all the desires, and all the questions from the parents, and can work on 100,000 of profiles at the same time. I think if you give that to an in-country rep, they don't have time to handle that. And in a market where personalized approach is value, this is where the agent also play their role, being a personalized touch to the parents and the student, and work alongside with the in-country to deliver the authentic information to the market. And so I think that would be my answer to this as well.
I think that's a great answer, and honestly, a great wrap up. We are now 3 minutes over because our discussion was that good. Thank you to everybody who is able to stay towards the end, and a special thanks to Bang, Nguyen, Quang, Scott. Thank you to our entire panelists. We're so grateful for the insights you shared with us today. To our audience and registrants, we said we'll follow up. We'll send you the recording and the slide deck from today, as well as a link to join us next month if you want to dig into transnational education in Vietnam. Thank you all so much, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, and